everyone, and welcome to Tastemade Presents Table Setting. I'm Kate Green.
And I'm Max Block.
And we're coming to you from our studio in sunny Santa Monica, California.
As always, we'll be looking at the ways in which kitchen and culture collide with some of the food world's most inspiring personalities.
This week, we will be chatting about all things pasta by hand with Chef Evan Funke of Felix Trattoria and author of upcoming cookbook, American
Sfolino.
Say it with me.
Sfolino.
On today's show, we'll look at the world's obsession with pasta, as well as the importance in cherishing age-old traditions. So thank you for being with us this morning.
Hello.
Thank you.
Talk to us a little bit. There's something quintessentially classic about Italy, but it feels like right now, in this moment, pasta, Italy are having a huge pop culture moment. Why do you think that is?
I actually disagree with you.
Okay, I'll go hide behind the barn.
I don't think
And I'm done.
I don't think
And
pasta has
next
ever gone out of style. I just think that people choose to talk about other things. And just so happens that people are starting to talk about pasta again. I've been at this studying handmade pasta for 11 years now. And I have seen a massive resurgence of interest for and about handmade pasta. So I'm glad to see more people are talking about it. So the more people talk about it, the more that it lives, because these histories die without the passage of practical and historical knowledge passed down from generation to generation.
Right, so when you were writing the cookbook, did you already have that inspiration when you opened Felix, or what was the path to get there to the book?
The path
You're like,
is
how much time do you have?
The path is too long to talk about.
Sure.
I think for Felix in particular, you know, when I opened Bucato in 2013, that was kind of like my freshman year in college. Felix is like my thesis.
Okay.
There's so much more understanding about the history and the geographical differences and the historical differences and the familial differences between house to house of each and every pasta shape.
Right.
Now, there's thousands and thousands of pasta shapes that have even been forgotten, extinct. And that's really what I'm here to do, is to be this kind of tuning fork or custodian or steward of these rare and obscure shapes and close to extinction. Yeah. That's all I do. I teach, I make pasta, I just so happen to run restaurants on the side.
Right.
So I think I was gonna ask you this later, but I feel like right now it makes a lot of sense to ask. Is there one shape that feels very personal to you? Or is there
So
also
many.
I know. Well, now that there's thousands of them, I'm
Right.
like, how do you narrow it down? I was
Top
saying,
five.
is there also one that like you just can't master, and you're like, just can't get it yet?
I don't ever look at it that way, because if one person can do it, another person can do it. So it's not even about the practical knowledge of learning how to do the shape. What's most important to me is the anthropology behind it, so that I can tell the story effectively and authentically to people that will eat it. So practicing the shape is one thing, teaching the shape to other people is one thing, but knowing what's behind it, far more interesting and far more driving for me to find that stuff out, because nobody's really going back. Mm-hmm. They're just like, I'm gonna go on YouTube and find out how to make lorigitas from some 95-year-old whose, great-great-grandson has shot him on the phone. Mm-hmm. Like that's how people pass knowledge these days. For me, that's cheap. For me, there's no depth of knowledge there. So I don't run pasta shapes on my menu unless I've sat down with the woman that has taught me and I've shaken her hand and thanked her for the knowledge that she's given to me. And only then can I put it on the menu.
Do you have a favorite story then that sticks out in your mind? I'm sure there's a million, but is there one that really sticks out in your mind?
I mean, honestly, the first real shape that I learned was the tortellini. The tortellini from Alessandro Spisni, alla Vecchia Scuola Bolognese back in 2007. Because that one was, Alessandro really opened the door for me to start this journey of seeking out pasta makers up and down the peninsula. Mm-hmm. She opened the door for me. I was like, holy, this is like, there is thousands and thousands of years of culinary tradition that people have just chose to not even look at.
So how did you go from that person to the next? Was it like an introduction? Were they like, you really have to talk to this person? Or how do you
It's a lot of
how are
that.
you discovering these people?
It's a lot of that. So when I started, there was no internet. There was like web pages, not websites. I read a lot. I got lost a lot. I got yelled at a lot. 'Cause people, you know, like,
I can imagine.
in '07, '08, like, good luck.
Yeah.
It was a lot of me going to towns and saying, hey, I want to go learn how to make macaroni alla chitarra. So where do you go? You go to Abruzzo and you go get lost. You go to Pescara, you go to Aquila, or whatever it is, and you try to find people that are making this shape. And you say, hey, I'm really interested in what you do. I'm a cook, I'm a pasta maker, can you please teach me? And somehow, some way, you get invited to dinner.
I was going to say, was there any instance where they were not wanting to
Yeah.
tell the story and they're like, get out of here?
100%. Mostly in the north.
Right.
In the south, it's very, very interesting. Just my past travels in the south, the differences between the hospitality between north and south is so striking, because there's fewer and fewer people, and there's more and more poverty in the south. So when you show up interested and
Engaged.
looking for, exactly, and engaging with them, they're like, absolutely,
Yeah, they're
please come
welcoming,
this way.
yeah.
Let me show you. Please let me show you.
Right.
And then when I say it, like, hey, I'm going to go back to America and I'm going to start telling your story
Yeah.
and making this shape and making sure that this thing lives on beyond you, they're like,
Yes, please. Right.
absolutely. It gives me chills thinking about it.
Are there specific regions in Italy that you've yet to get to? Obviously, we've talked a little bit about the north and the south, but are there like places where you're like, you know, if you could step away from the restaurant for a month and really be able to do it again, that's where.
Hundreds. This is my life's work.
Yeah.
I will
Right.
literally work
You'll
until the
spend the
day
rest
I
of your
die,
life, yeah.
and I'll barely even scratch the surface because we've forgotten way more than we actually know. There are so many thousands and thousands of shapes that have been made and then just go out of extinction because nobody talks about them anymore. So
It's almost like the evolution of like, it's almost like species evolutions. Like there's so many different just little shifts in each pasta within each
Right.
region. Like, how are you keeping track of them? Are you like, do you have like a crazy pasta
Does he have a
encyclopedia?
A pasta
well,
dictionary where he's
it's a
like,
lexicon. This is a lexicon. So yes, I take meticulous notes,
Yeah.
and I also have a photographic memory for technique and flavor. For nothing else, I use like all my brain power for this specific thing. I'm also a very good mimic. So if I taste something and see something made in front of me,
Yeah.
Then you
I
can
can
do it,
then
yeah.
take it to America. And the tough part is trying to use American ingredients
To match, yeah.
to match. And it's so difficult because so much of Italy, the food of Italy, is environmentally based. You're sitting on the island of Capri. There's a gentle breeze coming off of the ocean. You're sitting with the person that you love, drinking a crisp glass of white wine, and you're eating a caprese.
I wanna
That's
go on
really hard.
Yeah.
That's really hard to duplicate in the ass end of Culver City, right? So you need to find ingredients and import those ingredients and coax those little nuances and then fold them into your food without anybody noticing. And that's kind of what I do at Felix specifically.
no small feat. It does not
No.
seem like an easy
So,
thing. Do you?
No, go
sorry,
ahead.
okay. Sometimes we talk over each other. So, what do you think the number one difference is pasta by hand as far as taste goes? Can you obviously break that down for people?
A lot of people don't focus on texture. People focus on condimenti. They focus on sauce, right? So if the sauce is good, a lot of the textural differences go to the background,
Right.
right?
Makes sense.
So for me, handmade pasta is its own thing. It's another thing. So let me build a picture for you. You mix pasta dough by hand. You lovingly fold all of these amazing air pockets, right? If you cut the dough in half, it should look like honeycomb, okay? So it's full of air, it's full of energy, full of life. And then you take that ball of dough and you smash it in between two rollers like this. What do you think it does?
Right.
It takes all of the life,
air.
it
Yeah.
smashes
Smashes
out.
all the air
It's
out,
just like bread. You take all of this time to proof this beautiful gluten
Mm-hmm.
structure, and then you smash it down and then try and bake it. What are you gonna get? Garbage.
Right.
So, rolling pasta by hand, specifically sfoglia, it takes those air pockets and redistributes them smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller. So, machine-made pasta is very much like the density of pound cake, whereas hand-rolled pasta, sfoglia, is like wafer. You get the difference?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pasta is like a sponge. Dried pasta is like a sponge. If you take that pasta, a dried sponge, and you put it underneath the faucet, you turn the water on, right? This we're coming about cooking pasta. We're talking about cooking pasta now. Take a dry sponge, you put it on the faucet, you turn the water on. At a certain point, it becomes 100% engorged, right? It starts to repel water, right? Can't take on any more water. Unless you squeeze the water out, you can't make room for new water.
Right.
So a lot of chefs, when they make fresh pasta out of the extruder, they don't dry it. They extrude it because it's fresh, and they put it in the fridge, right? So now it hasn't had a chance to dehydrate. There's no room for new water. So that's why everybody's pasta tastes dense and hot. Mine tastes toothsome and hot. It's different.
Let's talk about the documentary Funky that you did with our very own Tastemade.
Tastemade.
Hey, Tastemade.
Obviously, it predated the opening of the restaurant, and I'm now talking about the cookbook as well. It feels like there was always kind of this cohesive plan to kind of roll out this story that you've had in your brain forever. So what was it like working, having a camera crew follow you around every day and having like that paparazzi
Everywhere.
moment?
Pain in my ass.
Yeah.
Pain in my ass.
And
They're great.
What was
What's
the biggest
takeaway?
Yeah. If any, we can have everyone at Tastemade walk out of set right now.
No, I'm a very candid person. I'm a very candid person. I went through a lot of after the closure of Bucato, and the documentary covers a lot of that stuff, and it was very, very painful for me. But I think the biggest takeaway from the whole experience, not just closure of Bucato and the documentary, the biggest takeaway for me is that you can't win without failing. You can't really truly understand something unless you know the limits, unless you've completely failed and fall flat on your face and then get back up. You can't really understand anything. So many people are afraid to fail.
Yeah.
And my perspective is so unique because a lot of chefs have never opened a restaurant and then failed and then declared bankruptcy.
Yeah.
Right.
So I've seen all of the mistakes that I make, and I have a clear perspective of exactly who I want to work with, how I want to work, and where I want to go. But everybody else is kind of just
Right.
figuring it
It's
out.
a tough lesson, but it's obviously worth it.
It's
right?
the best lesson.
Yeah.
It was the best decision for me to leave that restaurant and do what I did, because now I've made all the mistakes, and now I can offer, sometimes unwanted, offer advice to younger chefs. Be like, hey, you need to get with the right partner. You need to protect yourself.
Pay attention,
You need to
yeah.
get financially educated before you open a restaurant, because this is real.
Yeah.
Right.
Or at least there's new mistakes to be made and learn from
Sure.
them.
Absolutely. So now I have a whole new set of mistakes. to
Yeah,
make,
exactly.
Right? I have a whole new set of mistakes. And for me, my allotment of culinary mentors, I think I've taken that. I'm looking for financial mentors now, because now I'm much more of a businessman than I am a chef. I run businesses and I make pasta,
Right. Different skill sets.
It's a totally different skill set. So
Right.
that's another thing, just a side note, is that so much of culinary schools, they don't teach that side of the business. You
Right.
can dice out of an onion, you can make brunoise, you can do all this amazing, archaic French garbage, but can you run a business?
Right. Is
They're not
anybody
teaching it.
in the industry today teaching that business side that you know of,
Just kind of like live and be like.
besides yourself?
I don't know. For me, I spent a significant amount of time in Chicago relearning the business after Bucato from Rich Melman
Yeah.
of Lettuce Entertainment.
Rich.
And that guy is
great.
he is the architect of the universe.
Right.
Yeah.
And his company is successful because of his culture, because of his understanding, and because of his compassion. He knows exactly what he wants. He knows exactly who he wants to work with, and he knows what the job entails. And that was such an eye-opening experience for me, relearning this business from a master. So I think that, for me, like the whole thing, opening this new restaurant with Janet on the busiest street
Yeah.
in Los Angeles, highest profile you can possibly want, and being a smashing success. We were almost 3 years in, and you still can't get a reservation. You can.
Well, we just ate there last week and it was delicious.
I know. I saw it.
Delicious
I
and
ghosted you. It
packed,
was my
and
wife's
you forgot it was your wife's birthday.
Don't.
We'll cut that. Don't worry.
So I'm going to go backwards a little bit. Okay,
Okay.
so talking about the women in villages that you went around and learned from.
Yes.
Is there a difference in between the way that men and women handle dough and how they're making it? Is there a big difference?
No. However, I have learned exactly one shape of the 150 plus that I know from a man.
What shape was that?
Agnolotti, from SA at Spago. SA used to work behind me at the I had a Garde Manger prep station, and SA used to make agnolotti by the thousands
Right.
behind me. All she did, of course.
Yeah.
Monster. Guy's in his 70s now. He's still making agnolotti. But that was the only shape that I've ever learned out of 150 plus from a man. Everything else has been from a woman, because that's how it is. That's how it is. And when I first showed up in Bologna and basically everywhere I go, and I start asking about pasta, they look like, they look at me like I have 7 heads. Like,
You? What you're gonna?
Yeah.
but then when they see that I'm genuinely interested and actually have some dexterity to make pasta, they're like, oh, okay, let me show you something else. So that's,
So as that kind of applies back to the cookbook, what are you expecting, like, the takeaway to be? Because there's so many cookbooks that feel very formulaic, but this one obviously is very personal to you. So what
it's
are...
very personal, but it's also very formulaic, because
Because you have
Formula.
I'm
It's
very
pasta, yeah.
maniacal. I'm maniacal because pasta is so much like bread. Bread is math. Bread is the control of temperature and time. Pasta is basically the same thing. It's ingredients, temperature, time. And if you know and understand bread, you can know and understand pasta very, very well, because gluten structure is gluten structure. And how you build those gluten structure, whether it's resting time, bench rest, auto lees, whatever it is, I use all of those techniques making pasta. So it's kind of a blending of understanding to make my pasta what it is. And I think that those techniques that I use make it a better version of itself.
Is it something that, because you're so precise, and it has to be so precise, when you have someone come into Felix and they're like, I want to learn how to make pasta,
I don't take stages.
Okay, well, that answers our question.
pivot to the next
Moving on.
Here's the
No,
thing.
that makes sense.
No, here's the thing. Here's why I don't. Because I don't dabble. I don't dabble. It's either 100%
You're in or you're not.
100% out. And I get constant DMs on Instagram. Hey, can I come by for a stage and do the pasta lab? Absolutely not. Because what are you going to learn in one day? I've been at this 11 years and I'm still learning.
Sure.
Yeah.
So what are you actually going to learn in one day? You're going to steal a couple of my techniques? Great. God bless you.
Yeah, buy the cookbook.
Right. But the cookbook's really only about one city and one woman's technique and her impact on me. That's one story out of thousands and thousands, countless.
Right.
Because the iterations of pasta are as numerous as the cooks.
So
And not just that, it's as numerous as the histories of the cooks that have died. Do that multiplication. I don't like math that much.
Yeah,
but
me neither. So that's
we're
on
talking
you.
about a
yeah, I mean, thank you.
significant body of
Even
work.
if there's glasses on, it doesn't mean I'm basic arithmetic.
So I don't do stages, and
That makes sense.
I have offered to do stages for people that want to come, but it's 5 days a week, 8 hours a day, unpaid for 3 months, and no one has taken me up on it.
0.
0.
We'll see you
Because
tomorrow.
Yeah.
That's
We'll be there at
that's
7
a
a.m.
lot to dedicate yourself,
Mm-hmm.
and that provides me with the commitment.
Right.
So if you commit to me, I will certainly commit to you, and I'll teach you. I'll give you the goods.
Well, and you must feel then also a commitment to the people you're learning from. Like, how much of an obligation do you feel in the crux of your being able to spread this kind of out to the world?
It is my ultimate responsibility, and obviously my privilege to do so. It's my responsibility because I'm a steward of this.
Yeah.
This is my job now. This is my mission now. My ultimate goal is to do a non-profit culinary school that teaches these techniques, and obviously how to run restaurants as well.
Sure.
Right.
And I want to put it in an underserviced community. And
I love that.
Because I'm not having kids. I have dogs. I love my dogs. But like I want to make a legacy. How awesome would it be that we would do a nonprofit
Beautiful.
university that would live far beyond anything that I could create as a human?
That's great. Okay.
Quick fire
Quick
time.
questions.
Oh, quick fire. Okay.
Yes, we'll let you drink your coffee. Okay.
Go.
If you could cook with any chef, who would it be and what would you make?
Ooh.
Think about it. Or actually, don't think about it. Just off the top of your
That's
head.
a really hard question. Any chef,
And what would you make?
and what would I make?
Yeah.
Oh my God, it's so hard. I have so many.
Really? Okay.
have so many.
One.
Who was the first that came to mind?
Bourdain.
Okay.
Bourdain, for sure. Because I never met him, and I was super bummed.
Yeah.
Like, I was actually depressed, you know, what a multitude of people were, but like, it's a big thing.
Huge.
Yeah.
So he comes to mind first.
And what would you make?
Tagliatelle bolognese.
Love it.
Love it.
100%.
Is there any one ingredient you absolutely despise?
Blue cheese. I had a really nasty run-in with some super ultra AIDS cabrales.
Yeah.
And I ate it and it like ripped my nostrils out, and I was like, all right, I'm done with
You're like, we're done here.
Who would you rather be stuck in an elevator with, Martha Stewart or Rachel Ray?
Martha Stewart, 100%.
Right? If Kanye West was a food, what would he be?
Marshmallows.
Okay.
I love that.
All right. I'll take it.
Thank you for spending some time with us this morning.
Thank you so
Where
much.
can people find you, purchase the cookbook, all
Felix
the kind of...
Trattoria, 7 days a week. I take half a day off a week. And the book is on pre-order right now. When is this
Great.
gonna
It comes
air?
out...
It's coming out September 24th.
Okay.
And it's available wherever you buy books.
Great.
So you'll be able to buy it by the time this comes out.
100%.
Or you'll be able to buy it at the restaurant.
Buy the book.
obviously.
If you want to make pasta by hand, okay, you got to realize when you start making pasta by hand, it's going to look like
Be prepared,
Practice.
everyone.
repetition and practice is the mother of all skill. So keep going, keep making pasta. Because it's going to be delicious in the end. It doesn't matter.
Here's to hoping.
Here's the hoping.
Thank you to our producer and director, Darren Bresnitz, our EP, Jay Holzer, our line producer, Ryan Diddy.
Our director of production, Michael Gora, and our associate producer, Michael
Michael
Walker.
Walker.
We'll see you next time.
Ciao.